What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Jared Speaks, episodes 18. I want to start today by saying something I mean everything out of everything you could be doing right, out of every place your attention could be, chose to be. And I don't take that lightly at all. Not for a single episode, not for a single listen. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to stay with me for this because today's episode is just not for the people, for the ones who are not. And I think it might be the most important thing that I have said on this. Let's go. I want to talk directly to somebody, know who you are. You're the person whose mind not quiet down. Person who has a voice in your head that has been telling you a long time, very long. Things are not going to get better. That you are too far gone. That the people around you would be fine without you. That there is no way out of the place. That voice feels like the truth. It feels like the most honest thing in your life. It speaks with total certainty about who you are and what your future holds. I need you to hear something. That voice is not telling you the truth. It's telling you a story. And today, I want to talk about what that story actually is, where it came from, and how you can start to hear it differently. This is episode 16, Jared Speaks. And I am putting something to this one that I've not put into any episode before. It's intention. The intention that this reaches exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. If that person is you, I'm glad you found it. Before I go further, I want to acknowledge something I think gets overlooked in conversation about self talk. Not everyone experiences it the same way. I had a conversation recently with someone close to me. We were talking about the voice in my head, the running inner commentary. And she told me something that genuinely stopped cold. She said she does not really have thoughts the way I described them. No constant narration, no ongoing inner conversation, just feeling and impulses without the verbal layer on the top of it. That blew my mind because for me, the voice is almost always there, commenting, analyzing, questioning, replaying, sometimes encouraging, and sometimes the opposite. And I realize that for some of you listening, the self talk is a loud running conversation. For others, it's quieter, more like a feeling or an instinct than actual words. For some of you, it's images rather than language. All of those are valid. All of those, the specifics of how your inner voice sounds or feels are less important. Whatever form it takes, it is shaping your experience of reality every day. And most of the time, you're not even aware of it happening. Let me put this simply. Self talk is the ongoing conversation mind has with itself, the interpretation it puts on everything that happens around you, the meaning, sign, predictions about what things are. It is not random. It is built from everything I've experienced, every message you absorb growing up about who you are and what you are worth, every sound that never fully healed, every time someone's words got in, came apart, how you see your. We talked about this in generational trauma. The beliefs you carry about yourself often did not even start with you. They were handed down, or they were installed by experiences you did not choose and could not fully protect yourself. And somewhere along the way, for a lot of people, the voice started running a story that was never true. A story about not being about being too much, about being fundamentally broken in some way that cannot be fixed. And because you hear it every day, because it's inside your own head and your own voice, speaking with familiarity of something that has always been there, it starts to feel like a fact. But it's not a fact, it's a pattern. Patterns can change. I want to talk about the dark version of this because I think it deserves to be said out loud instead of dance around. For some people, the inner voice is not just critical or doubtful, it is relentless. It runs the same loops over and over again. It argues against every reason for hope. It builds a case system that will never there's a builds a case that there's a point that the way out that makes the most sense is the permanent one. If you are in that place right now, I need you to hear me. That voice is the most convincing liar you will ever encounter because it knows you completely. It knows every fear, every wound, every moment of failure you have ever had. And it uses all of it to build the most airtight argument it can that you are hopeless. But here is what the voice does not know: it does not know what happens next. It cannot see the past, the pain you are in right now. It is making predictions about your entire future based on the worst moments of your past. And that is not the truth. That is a brain in survival doing the only thing it knows to do. That's preparing for the worst. The voice that says there's no escape is not wiser than you. It's not louder than you right now. And loud is not the same, right? I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. What does your inner voice tell you most often? Is it a coach or a critic? Is it curious or is it cruel? Drop it in the comment. You don't have to dress it up. Just say what it actually sounds like. Because I think more people are carrying the same voice than any of us realize. Saying it out loud is the first thing that starts loosening grip. Let me get personal, as I usually do with most of, because I think this lands harder when it comes from a real. I caught myself recently before a therapy appointment. My leg was shaking, and I noticed mid thought, wait, am I actually nervous right now? Or am I performing what nervous is supposed to look like? And I genuinely could not tell. I was caught between the feeling and the observation of the feeling at the same time. That moment of catching the voice, of stepping back far enough to ask whether what I was experiencing was it real or was it a habit? That whole skill. That little gap between the feeling and the meaning you assign to it. That is where everything. I also caught my ego talking and mistaking it for my real self. I've caught the critic telling me who I am or who am I to be doing this podcast. I've caught the worrier running scenarios about things that have not happened and may never happen. I've caught the voice saying things about myself that I would never say to another person. And every time I catch it, I have a choice not to silence it, and not silence, but to question, is this actually true? Or is this the pattern talking? I want to pull some threads together here because this topic runs through almost every we have covered on this show. In episode 6, we talked about the brain filtering reality. Your self talk is one of the main programs running that filter. Whatever the voice tells you is important, your brain starts finding evidence for it everywhere. If the voice says you are not enough, your brain will highlight every moment that seems to confirm it and filter out the ones that do not. That's not, that is just how the filter works. In episode 10, we talked about the ego. Ego and the inner critic are often working together. Ego's version of self talk is the voice that needs to be seen a certain way, needs to be right, needs to win. Learning to hear when the ego is talking instead of the real you, one of the most valuable things. In episode 15, we talked about shadow work, the voice that shuts down the goofy side of you up, the voice that told you to hide parts of yourself that got criticized. That is self talking doing the shadow's work, keeping things buried, keeping the performance of yourself running instead of the real version. And in the general trauma episode, we talked about how patterns get handed down. A lot of what the inner critic says sounds remarkably like someone from your past, a parent, teacher, someone who had their own passed forward without me. The voice in your head sometimes not even originally your voice, echo. I'm not going to tell you to just think positive. That is not how this works. Think actually makes things worse for people who are really struggling. Because when the voice is that loud, that persistent, telling it to be positive just sounds like another layer of failure. Now you're negative and you cannot even fix it properly. Here's what actually helps. Start by noticing, not fixing, not arguing, not replacing. Just notice the voice. Name it. Catch it. Oh, there's the critic. There's the worry. There's the old recording from somebody who's not even in my life. And you do not have to make it stop. Just have to see it. Then ask one question. this actually true? Not is it possible? Not could it theoretically happen? Is this actually, objectively, right now true? Because most of what the inner critic says is prediction dressed up as fact. And predictions are not fact. Then try this. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to your kid. The way I get down on my youngest son's level and tell him it is okay to have big feelings. What would you say to him if he was carrying thought you were carrying? What would you tell your child? Would you tell him he is hopeless? No. Would you tell him there is no way out? Or would you get down to his level, say, I see you. This is hard right now, but it's not the whole story. Give yourself that same voice, not because you earned it, because you need it. I want to hear from you on this one. Have you ever caught a negative loop running in your head and managed to shift it? What did you do? What was it that worked? Drop it in the comments. Not for me, for the person who's going to read your answer and need it more than you know. I said at the beginning of the episode that I am putting intention into this one, that I want to reach the person who feels like there is no escape. So let me speak directly to that person right now. I do not know your name. I do not know what you have been through. I do not know how long the voice has been running the loop. But I know this. You found this episode out of everything on the internet, out of every direction your attention could have gone. You are here right now listening to somebody talk about the voice in your head. That is not nothing. That is you still looking, still reaching, still some part of you not fully convinced the voice is right. Hold on to that part. That part is telling you the truth. The voice that says there is no escape has been wrong before. Maybe you can't see the example right now because the filter is only letting the hard stuff through, but they exist. And the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still listening, means the voice has not won yet. Please talk to someone, not because you're broken, because you are carrying something heavy and nobody was designed to carry it. A therapist, crisis line, a friend, family member, stranger, picks up the phone, somebody. The voice gets quiet when it's not the only thing that matter more than says. That is episode 16, everybody. This one took something to record, and I hope it gave something back. If today reached you, if something in this episode landed in place, please share it. Not for the number, not for the algorithm, for the specific person or life who you know is fighting a voice that will not quit. And the act of sharing might be the thing that reaches at exactly the right moment. And if you are in the comments, answer the question I asked today. What does your inner voice usually sound like? Have you ever shifted a negative loop? What would you say to yourself today that you have been needing to hear? I read them, they matter. If you have not followed the show yet, please do that wherever you are listening. Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Hit that follow and leave a rating. It gets the show to more people. And if you're or someone you know is in a really dark place right now, please reach out to somebody. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available by call, text, anytime. Just dial or say text 988. You don't have to be in immediate danger to call. You just have to be struggling. That is enough. New episode tomorrow, guys. Stay curious. Take care of yourselves. Talk to you then.